There are 195 countries in the world. Some are considered upper middle countries, while some are considered lower income countries. Maternal mortality death ratio varies from countries to countries. What exactly is maternal mortality death ratio? It is simply the ratio of women who die during pregnancy and childbirth per 100,000 live births. Sri Lanka has worked over the years tremendously in order to lower their maternal mortality death ratio. Sri Lanka, just to let you know, is a middle income country. So let's discover together what makes them so exemplary. Sri Lanka is a middle income country that has an income per capita of $12,500 a year, which is quite low when you compare it to the United States that has an average $60,000 a year. Something to consider is that Sri Lanka female literacy rate was double the South Asian average. They also had free healthcare services that were available since the 1930s. In addition, Sri Lanka had a good civil registration system, which allowed them to register their maternal mortality death ratio since the 1900s. So we can appreciate how Sri Lankans has worked over the years collaboratively in order to lower their maternal mortality death ratio. Sri Lanka has taken a number of steps in order to reduce their maternal death. Firstly, they improved access to their health services by establishing health facilities throughout the country in the 1930s. Around the same time, they established a working ambulance service. Secondly, in the 1940s, they have introduced policies in order to expand the number of midwives, which were the frontline workers dealing with pregnant women and childbirth services. And those services were greatly appreciated and accepted by women and their families at home or in hospitals. Let's go back in history. In 1879, the training of midwifery was established under the British colonial government. And between the 1941 and 2009, the number of midwives has multiplied from 350 to 9,000 today. Thirdly, what they did, the Sri Lankan civil registration was used, that system was used in order to figure what help was most needed in order to reduce the maternal mortality death. They figured that helping vulnerable groups would ensure a higher quality of services. At the same time, in the 1960s, Sri Lanka has made progress in order to reduce maternal mortality death by combating malaria and hookworm and increasing their sanitation and measures in order to combat those diseases, which were also a way to reduce maternal death. It is a way too important to note that these measures were greatly what contributed to their success.
As a result of the interventions my colleague mentioned earlier, maternal deaths in Sri Lanka has declined from 600 per 100,000 in 1950s to 36 per 100,000 as of 2017. Can't you see how much difference that is? From 600 to 36. That's a really big difference. Sri Lanka has since then halved maternal deaths in every 2 years since 1935. Skilled health workers such as doctors, nurses, midwives attend at least 19% of births compared to 1940s, which were just 40%. Sri Lanka has built upon a strong healthcare system since the 1900s. Sri Lanka spends less on healthcare. They only spend 3% of their gross domestic product, and that's achieved far more than most countries at similar income level. An example I would like to talk about is Jamaica. Jamaica spends 6% of their gross domestic product on healthcare, and their maternal ratio is 80 per 100,000 live births, compared to Sri Lanka's, whose maternal ratio is just 36. Another factor I would like to state, Sri Lanka has the lowest maternal rate recorded for a South Asian country. If you look at other South Asian countries, for example, India, their maternal ratio is 146, and they spend 5% of their gross domestic product on healthcare. This achievement can be attributed to a strong governance, which was created since the 1800s and placed priority on the population's education and health, and also proper utilization of all the resources available to them. These measures led to an improved quality of their healthcare system. Another thing I would like to add is the introduction of midwifery in 1879. This has helped to lower the maternal deaths in Sri Lanka and also aided vulnerable groups such as low-income families, pregnant women, elderly people, people with disabilities, and so on. To conclude, middle and lower countries should look at Sri Lanka as a prime example and many interventions they took to take action in reducing their maternal mortality rates.